The training on Mocha Planet lasted half a month, in total. When it was over, nothing came of it all. There were no adventures or excursions planned for them inside the ruins or anything. It had been a long time Daphne received a mission, so, following this, Hansen decided to return to the sanctuary. Wang Yuhang was still in Moment Shelter, so Hansen traveled to Devil Blood Shelter in his company. They wanted to see if they could deal one final strike and destroy the shelter. The Devil Blood King had mostly lost everything, so Hansen was willing to assume all of the super creatures he had brought with him for the golden chests had been killed. Death Knell and Spirit Owl had also finished evolving by now, becoming super pets that could fight. His team would be stronger than ever. Hansen now had Little Angel, Death Knell, Spirit Owl, Little Silver, Little Fairy, and Wang Yuhang. With such a team, Hansen believed it was possible to take down Devil Blood Shelter. Big Black, Small Black, and Little White stayed behind to defend Moment Shelter while they were gone. Without delay, Hansen brought Wang Yuhang right to the front gate of Devil Blood Shelter. On this day, they weren't going to spend time trying to lure some of the residents away. Spirit Owl flew high in the air and summoned an army of rats to assault the shelter. Each rat was sacred blood and strength, and they ran in like a vermintide for boorish reconnaissance. And just as Hansen had deduced, the Devil Blood King only had 6 super creatures left in his company. Hansen and Wang Yuhang entered the shelter with the goal of killing the super creatures first and foremost. They weren't going to take out the spirit and his spirit stone just yet. The Silver Fox and Little Fairy were loosed, while Spirit Owl and Little Angel each picked themselves a target. Hansen caught sight of a wolf-like super creature. Hansen's eyes gleamed with silver, and when they did, Hansen transformed into a 3-meter-tall silver ape. Holding his flaming Rex spike, Hansen spared no time in swinging it down on the wolf's head. Boom. The super creature collapsed on the ground after Hansen's attack. In one swing, its head had been smashed in. The skull had been skinned and half shattered, exposing a bleeding brain on the inside. The increase in power Hansen had received was incredible to behold, and the thrill of unleashing it almost made him scream to the sky in delight. The Devil Blood King suddenly popped up from Hansen's shadow. He tried to strike at Hansen's back with his claw-like fingernails, but Hansen was ready. He fought back with Sonic Thunder Punch, and when his fist collided with the Devil Blood King, the silver sunlight went supernova. The strike against the Devil Blood King's talons was tremendous, and it sent the spirits spiraling backwards. Hansen was overjoyed at this result, and without reprieve, moved in to perform the same skill again, and then he did it again and again and again without pause. The shelter was washed with a blinding white light from the repeated explosions of Hansen's silver suns. The shadows all around were either dispersed or made faint, prohibiting the Devil Blood King from melding into them to travel and escape. With the vitality boost given to him by the Silver Blood Macaque, Sonic Thunder Punch no longer drained his energy as it used to. Without getting weak, he could continue swinging his fist as a Sonic Thunder Punch without delay, over and over like any average punch. Hansen punched his face, and when he did, the Devil Blood King was thrown into the air. Then he punched his belly, and the Devil Blood King was sent flying away a few hundred meters, striking the gate wall and making it crumble. Blood spilled from the Devil Blood King, and he turned black as charcoal with the lasting electricity. Hansen hadn't had a good, easy fight like this in a while. Wang Yuhang, on the other hand, wasn't sure how to compose his thoughts. He was frozen by what he saw. When they first came to this place, Hansen valued his help and needed it a good deal, especially with pulling creatures away. But now, in a short amount of time, Hansen had reached a point where he was the one chasing the super creatures. This is sickening, Wang Yuhang thought to himself, unable to believe there was nothing he could do to help right now. Go and look for the Spirit Hall, Hansen told the Spirit Owl. Spirit Owl made a noise not unlike a baby, and from below the Spirit Owl, a legion of rats followed and spread out like a tide in search of the hall. Within 10 minutes, they had found it. It was through a small hole, hidden inside a palace. When Hansen reached the hall, he saw something strange on the Spirit Stone. He promptly bent to pick it up. The Spirit Stone shone black and red and then blew up in Hansen's hand into nothing but dust. I failed. Hansen had a wry smile, for this was the first time he ever failed capturing a spirit. Still, he was now in possession of Devil Blood Shelter. It was a decent reward, and when factoring in the 2 second-generation Life Geno essences he had also obtained, he felt satisfied. The 2 essences gave him 14 Super Geno points, bringing his total up to 92, after taking over Devil Blood Shelter. Hansen was starting to think he was far more powerful than he should have been. He had 2 king-class shelters, and yet there'd never be anyone around to occupy them. Ferocious monsters ruled the lands that encompassed the shelters, meaning human occupation was unlikely. This annoyed Hansen. Why would you allow this to dwell on your mind? With the advent of angel gene fluid, the growing strength of humanity is accelerating. If you can secure these shelters and provide protection to other bold, pioneering sorts, it'd be a valuable location. Particularly so with all the terrifying monsters that roam here. This place would be valued highly, I am sure. Even if you did not want to sell it, you could simply rent it. After going back to the Alliance, Hansen found someone to produce an advertisement for him to rent out Devil Blood Shelter. The advertisement shocked the whole Alliance. The fact that Hansen had taken down a super spirit shelter was nigh unbelievable. After learning its location, many of the bigger organizations were keen to scout the area and check it out. The results added further shock. If the shelter was indeed secure, then it would be a bountiful location with an abundance of resources, not to mention the plentiful super creatures. The only problem would have been safety, but Hansen pledged there would be 2 super creatures remaining there, willing to guard the location. Thinking the shelter to be viable, many different factions gave Hansen the sum they were willing to pay. Angel Jean was the highest bidder, but Hansen decided to rent it out to Donglin instead. With the contract that was written up and later signed, they would pay Hansen with a large sum of pet pills every year. After the first transaction, Hansen returned to Moment Shelter with a large quantity of pet pills. Hansen was going to be leveling up soon, so before that happened, Hansen decided to pay his mother a visit. He visited a human shelter along the way and returned to the Alliance for a spell. There, he heard startling news. The Shura had decided upon a new king, or rather, this time, a queen. The Yu family focuses on technological advancements. They are also fairly open-minded when it comes to other races. They consistently research how they might find a way to survive in the sanctuaries to earn geno points and own beast souls. They once suggested making use of human genes, but previous rulers were too closed-minded for that. Angel gene fluid already proves it is possible to combine parts of them with ourselves. Who's to say it won't work the other way around? This was out of Hansen's control, however. If the new Shura leader did choose to pursue this path, it'd affect humanity a lot. But for now, it was difficult to determine what might soon happen. For the time being, humanity had an advantage. Although Hansen still had 200,000 miles to go, the road wasn't going to be a dangerous one due to how strong he had become. Therefore, Hansen considered it as little more than a road trip. To join him, he decided to bring Zero and all his beautiful spirits with him on his way to Blue Crystal Shelter. After walking for an entire month, they were yet to encounter a single dangerous moment. Hansen and Zero barbecued on the open fire just outside their pitched tents. After the moon rose, they noticed something strange occurring. The black fruit they had seen in the daytime were shining pink now. They also opened up by themselves, becoming luminous, pink-petaled flowers of some sort. What's more, the stinky juice and smelly stench was gone. In fact, they gave off a pleasant fragrance that brought one's mind joy. Wow, they're so beautiful. Zero looked very surprised as she looked around the endless sea of pink flowers above. It is pretty. Hansen was fairly surprised as well. He never expected that the black fruit were hiding such lovely flowers inside. Moment Queen, at the time, was tasked with massaging Hansen's shoulders from behind. She frowned, and while looking at the flowers, seemed to be lost in thought over something. A while later, fireflies appeared. They weren't the average sort, as they went around the flowers collecting nectar like bees. What was most strange was their lack of fear towards the silver fox. Hansen found it comforting to see how docile and unthreatening they were, however. All they did was collect what they could from the flowers, coming and going as they pleased. Zero put out her hands and a firefly landed on it. The firefly skittered around on her skin for a bit and then took off again. Hansen used his Dongxuan aura to get a closer look at the little critters and noticed they were just ordinary fireflies. Their shape was a little different, however, sharing something in common with a ladybug. Their whole bodies glowed too, unlike actual fireflies. They had life forces, suggesting they were real creatures and not some summoning of a hungry, demonic creature residing below ground. Their life forces weren't strong, though. They were mostly ordinary, and there were only a few anomalies amongst them. Strange. Where do these fireflies come from? There are so many of them, there has to be nest around here somewhere. We must have walked 1,000 miles, though. We've walked all this time and seen neither hide nor hair of a possible nest, so where are they during the daytime? Hansen thought out loud. Maybe they reside within the flowers themselves, Zero suggested. How would that be possible? Hansen shook his head, dismissing her idea. He believed her mind to be too imaginative, for how could fireflies hide themselves in flowers? To confirm, he cut open another fruit, releasing another ooze of that stinky liquid he had first smelled upon arriving in the forest. We should continue walking on this night. If we walk until dawn, perhaps we can see where these fireflies go to rest, Hansen said. Zero seemed to be quite interested in this idea, and she nodded confidently. They both kept on walking, observing the luminous flowers and busy fireflies that were all around them in every direction. Before long, they had seen so much of them, the spectacle had lost its luster and it bored them. When it was dawn, though, Hansen and Zero made sure to watch the fireflies intently and see where they'd go off to. Surprisingly, when the sun rose, the fireflies flew into the flowers. The flowers curled up their petals and returned to their shape as a fist-sized fruit, with fireflies in the center. They really are hidden in there, just as I thought, Hansen said, doing his best to smother his surprise. Hansen cut a few of the fruit open and smelled that wretched liquid. Despite a thorough dissection of the vile fruit, he was unable to locate the firefly within. It was weird, for with his own two eyes, Hansen had just watched one go inside. Strange. Could that smelly liquid be the firefly itself? If it is, then they grow inside the flowers. But what do they do with the nectar they collect then? Hansen wondered in confusion. Of course, it did not concern him too much. He continued his travel alongside Zero after the revelations, none the worse. In the middle of that afternoon, he saw a particularly large fruit tree standing before them. It was like a hill. The black fruit grew on the tree like they did with the others, but the fruits on this tree were far bigger. They were each about 1 meter in width. Stop! When Hansen neared the tree, a voice called out for him to cease his approach. Hansen turned around and found a human woman not far away from the tree waving towards them. Hansen was surprised, not expecting to see any other humans in this region. My friend, what seems to be the problem? Hansen said as he started walking towards the woman. She appeared to be a typical elegant lady, in her 40s at the most. Of course, considering the lifespan of humans in this age, that was young. Physically, she looked no older than 20. Do not go over there. If you do, you'll die. The woman looked to be in distress, horrified. Follow me. The woman gestured for Hansen and Zero to accompany her, then she turned around and ventured deeper into the forest. They hadn't been walking too long when they came to a clearing with a few tents and other living amenities. There were a few other people there too, sunbathing in the pleasant afternoon sunshine. Hansen and Zero's arrival roused their attention. Those who were lying down stood up, and others came out from their tents. There were a dozen humans there, and judging from their apparel and the state of their tents, they must have been there for quite some time. This place is safe, so pitch a tent and rest a while. Hansen looked at the woman and said, Why? What's going on? You guys know this is the dark haunted forest, don't you? She asked with shock. The others in the camp eyed Hansen and his fellows curiously. Most people who wander into this forest at unawares can never find a way out. The woman let out a lamenting sigh. Never find a way out. Hansen was shocked at hearing what the woman told him. He did not believe a forest could trap him and prevent his leaving. If he could not walk out, he could at least fly. Regardless of how creepy this place was, it would be impossible for a forest to trap a creature with wings. You really have no idea what you've stumbled into, do you? You both look young, and for you both to enter this place and subject yourself to this fate is a crying shame, I tell you. What is going on here? Hansen passed out some alcohol and food to the people, retrieved from the satchels on Golden Growler. When the people saw the alcohol and food, they looked shocked. They ran over to the items and devoured them as quickly as they could, as if they hadn't eaten in 1,000 years. Brother, do you have cigarettes? A middle-aged man asked Hansen. Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. Hansen pulled out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket and tossed them over to the middle-aged man, who looked to be in absolute shock. You should put these away and cherish them. You're going to be here for a long time. The people there were harmless, and after receiving the goods from Hansen, they passionately relayed as many of the tales and stories about the place as they could. Like Hansen, they had mistakenly ventured into the dark haunted forest. They hadn't come together, but one at a time. Whatever venture led them to the forest had been their last, and they had all been stuck there ever since. The woman who invited them over, near the big tree, was the most recent addition to the growing community. Her name was Lu Fang, and she had gotten lost in the forest 2 years before Hansen's arrival. Lu Fang was a botanist. Her job in the Alliance was associated with the forest, and she had a great interest in the dark haunted trees that grew there. She went there wanting to learn more about them, but walking a mere 10 meters into the forest to collect a sample was enough to prevent her from leaving. The dark haunted forest is not aggressive in itself. The real danger comes from the dark haunted trees. Are you saying those trees are a danger? You probably haven't noticed this yet, but if you stay near the trees for a while, you will age much faster. In 3 months, you can die from old age. You are lucky that Little Fang brought you here. If you walk within a kilometer of that big tree, you can die in less than 3 hours. I came here with 2 friends. They stayed in proximity to the dark haunted tree king for 1 hour, and after that, they looked to be about 200 years old. Then, they died of old age. Just remember, do not get close to the Tree King, it'll affect your body quite quickly. If it is not necessary, do not even venture beyond the outskirts of this camp. These ordinary trees can still affect you, it is just difficult for you to tell, Wang Zhang said. Can't I just fly away? Hansen asked. You can't. This forest is endless, and whether you try to escape by foot or by wings, you cannot leave. Huang Zhang smiled wryly and continued to say, I came to this place with beast soul wings myself. If these wings could deliver me to safety, I wouldn't still be here. Han Sen frowned and asked, Have you tried cutting down the dark-haunted trees? Lu Fang answered, You can't do that either. If you cut them, they release a gas of some sort. It makes you grow older even faster. The camp in this meadow is the only place that is free from those wretched trees. And what's more, even if you do unearth the tree and destroy its roots, it'll magically restore itself within a few days. Is there no other way? Han Sen asked, frowning. The people had been trapped there for a very long time, some for decades. If they really had no clue, Han Sen suspected he might not be able to find a solution anytime soon either. Wang Jianggang said, It's not that there is no way, in fact, we believe there might be, we are just unsure whether or not we can pull it off. Wang Zhang pointed at the Tree King and said, At night, those dark-haunted bugs deliver nectar to the Tree King. They feed monsters that reside within it. The monsters inside seem to have a manner of control over the bugs and trees. We believe if we can kill whatever lurks inside that wooden fiend, we'll be free to leave. But those monsters are so very strong, and with the risk of being killed through a quick aging process by venturing close, we don't believe such a thing is possible. None of us here possess the necessary experience needed to pull such a thing off. Han Sen spoke with them for a while and then decided to stay a while and wait to see if he could catch a glimpse of what he might be dealing with past nightfall. That night, Han Sen planned on leaving Zero behind and going alone, but Zero wasn't having it and she insisted on following him. Han Sen had no choice but to accept her company, and since he was watching from afar anyway, he didn't think her presence would cause too much trouble. By following the bugs, it didn't take them long to arrive. After hearing what Lu Feng had to say, he also paid heed to his own life force. Despite what he had been told, he didn't notice anything damaging occurring to it. Lu Feng mentioned even the ordinary trees could make a person age and absorb one's life force. And regardless of how little it was something Han Sen should have been able to sense. But still, Han Sen felt nothing. And this made him frown. He looked at the distance between him and the tree, and noticed he was standing exactly 1 kilometer away from the Tree King. Han Sen made Zero wait there while he approached, but again, Zero wasn't willing to be left behind. When Han Sen took a step forward, so did she. Han Sen had no choice but to accept her insistence of accompanying him and allow her to come. She was a much happier girl these days, but she was still as stubborn as ever. With Zero around, though, he didn't dare get too close. As he approached carefully, he calculated his distance away from the tree. Suddenly, Han Sen felt his body's energy start to drain. He quickly pulled her back with him about 10 meters, and the leak of life force he had felt stopped. That makes no sense. Han Sen was shocked, unable to believe his life force could leak out uncontrollably as it had. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.